is Emily. If you are returning to Fibertown, welcome back. And if you're brand new, we are very glad you're here. This is Alice. And it's appropriate that she's here, just jumped up on my lap, because I'm going to do a YouTube standard, which I've never done before, which is monthly favorites. So these are my March favorites, and I could never leave Alice out. So Alice is doing great. She's looking older. Who isn't? And she might bug me a little because it's almost her dinner time. But Al, you go play. Go lay in the sun. Yeah, so let's jump right into it. I have fiber things. I have books. I have music. I have yarn, plants, makeup. I'm going to show you all the things that brought me some pleasure this month of March. And I hope you are all well as well and get some inspiration out of one of these things, hopefully. The very first thing that's giving me lots of pleasure is all of the sewing I've been doing this month. I made, let's see, what did I make? I made this Mandy Boat tee out of some navy striped jersey, which is a lot of fun. I have maybe 4 of these now, and they're very useful garments. I also made the Salida skirt. I think it's Salida because it's named after the town in Colorado. That is a True Bias pattern. I hope that she has increased the size range of this particular or this brand of patterns, because this particular one does not go up very far, but I made this one out of denim scraps. I had a really good time doing it. It's very structured, so I would like to try this again in maybe a linen for summer, but I really enjoyed using some denim scraps from Jeans Projects. And I should say that another favorite thing of mine is my Snag tights, and I've been wearing these mustard ones a lot this winter. They make me very happy. I also have some navy ones, and Snag also sells wool tights. So I bought a pair of black wool tights, and they have kept me warm on a couple of birding expeditions, which I wore them under pants, and I will talk more about birding later. I've also sewn a Wixton shift. I haven't had much occasion to wear it yet because it's still kind of chilly most days. And this is definitely a summer item, but I love this embroidered cotton linen blend fabric, and I think this is a great pattern for showcasing really interesting fabrics because there are not a lot of pieces to this dress. There's a back yoke, a back and a front, and then the belt, and the sleeves are grown on. So you don't have to do a lot of pattern matching, and you don't have to really cut up your fabric that much, so you can really showcase statement pieces of your fabric. I've also sewn, oh, this is so much fun, this fabric. This is a Japanese linen. It's like the Poppies line. And this was kind of a viral Instagram fabric this past year, especially the one with red poppies, which I have just now been able to acquire. However, I found that I really prefer this charcoaly black / mustard version that I made into a Hannah dress, a short-sleeved Hannah dress by By Hand London. Struggle to say that. I have another version of this dress that I wore constantly last summer, and I was able to get it out of this narrow fabric. It's about 45 inches wide, by very carefully tracing with chalk all the pattern pieces until I found a way to fit them all on this fabric. So I had, oh gosh, maybe 1/8 of a yard left over. So it was really good value in terms of getting the most out of the fabric and not wasting any. So I might do the same with this red poppies one, and here is that fabric. Really gorgeous, silky Japanese linen. It has a beautiful drape. It's opaque, but not too structured. It is fluid as well. My black silk Calder pants by Cashmerette Patterns. I had this silk, it might be a silk blend, honestly. I'm not sure it's 100% silk, but I got it at a store where they weren't the best at labeling things. They did do a burn test for me, and it smelled like silk, so we're gonna say it's silk. This is a fantastic pattern, again, for very fluid fabric, very good to wear, elasticated back waist and flat front waist. That's the waistband, I should say. I haven't had occasion to wear these with heels, but they look great with flats as well. And you can dress it up, you can dress it down. So that's about it for my sewing. So I have had the energy recently to do some sewing and really focus on that. And I have an upcoming project. It's called the Sulis hat by Pattern Fantastique. And I'm going to make this out of some denim scraps as well. Okay, so what else has been bringing me joy? This black Romney fleece from a yearling ram called Prince. This fleece was sent to me by Carrie, My Wool Mitten. She had acquired this guy's fleece. She was thinking about buying the animal. She decided not to, I believe. But our first impression of Prince was not all that favorable because the shearing job had meant that there were a lot of second cuts. So when we started to work with it, we noticed all of these second cuts that were making neps and kind of making a lot of waste. However, I decided to pull him out again because I just finished a spin, which I should probably tell you about as well. But when I pulled out Prince's fleece again, I decided to drum card it, and oh my goodness, it made all the difference. I could pick out the second cuts really easily, and then it just, what I'm doing is I take the bat, and instead of spinning sort of with the grain of the fleece, I spin pure woolen, so against the grain. So I roll up the bat and I spin from the short side, so that it's very disorganized, and that's how this fleece wants to be spun. So it spins like butter, and I can just pick out any little neps as I go along or leave them in because that's okay too. So he's a ram and he's a yearling. So this was another issue with the fleece. He was a little bit like a teenage boy in that he had a lot of dandruff, he's a little bit gross, he's a little bit stinky, but oh my goodness, soft, sweet, and just gorgeous underneath all of the grossness. I do think this is a yarn that's going to continue to shed a lot of like crud, for lack of a better word. It's not necessarily a vegetable matter, it's like dandruff. And I've come to understand that young sheep, just like young humans, can get a lot of illnesses. Their fleeces aren't always the best quality because they've had the stress of illness and just kind of growing up and figuring out the hormonal levels. So I wanted to add that about Prince. I thought that was cute. So I'm getting a 2-ply, my natural spin, my like intuitive way to spin this, I'm getting a 2-ply DK weight. So I might try to spin it thinner and kind of get a fingering weight because I think this would be just stunning as the Ola yoke by Ella Gordon. So we'll see. I actually might have enough to do 2 projects out of this, like significant projects. Yeah, so that's Prince. And my other fleece spin that I've finished is this Perrindale Cross from Lucky Day Farm in, I think, Virginia. I'll have to double check. But I have about 1,500 yards of a 3-ply from this fleece, and I plan to do some natural dyeing with that this summer. I've ordered some new seeds, and my dye garden is starting. The perennial plants, the biennial plants, they're all starting to come up. The weld, the madder, the woad, what else? The alkanet is not going to come up. I would love to get another alkanet plant. All of the cosmos have self-seeded as well, so it should be a lot of fun this summer. Another thing I'm really enjoying this month is 2 book series. The first one is by Leigh Bardugo, and these are the 3 books. This is a young adult fantasy series, which is not a typical genre for me at all. However, I adored this one. It's kind of loosely inspired, at least the setting is loosely inspired by Russia. Russia-inspired sort of language, place names, geography. I don't know enough about Russian culture to say that it's really Russian culture inspired, but I think there's some of it that is. Yeah, it is a fantasy novel though, so it's kind of like a parallel universe, and there are certain types of people who have certain powers and all that good stuff. But it's not there are some of your usual tropes for sure, but they are dealt with in a way that isn't necessarily typical. So that series was very enjoyable. Another one that I absolutely enjoyed eventually was the Once and Future Witches by Alex Harrow. I did not enjoy this about the first half of the book, and then I absolutely loved it. And typically I will read a book and I will give it away. I will put it in a local little library. I'm keeping this one because it really eventually turns to an exploration of language as magic. And that the songs and rhymes your mother or your caregiver sang to you, told you, contain magic. And I just found it charming, endearing, special. So I will be saving that book in my collection, The Once and Future Witches. Now, the one I'm reading right now is, again, not a typical book for me, or not a typical genre. It's called, it's by Becky Chambers, Long Way to a Small Angry Planet. I'll put it here in case I get that wrong. It is a space opera. I don't know if you call it a space opera like Ziggy Stardust, but it all takes place long time in the future in outer space. And this woman knows a lot about language. She knows a lot about relationships. She knows a lot about tech. She was raised by like astrobiologists and space engineers, you know. So she has a very unusual background. And it's humorous at the same time. And usually I'll like, you know, it's not Star Wars-y at all. Not that there's anything wrong with Star Wars, but it's not kind of what floats my boat usually. But this book is really great. I heard about this book from Moonstone Makes, Tommy, I think she was the one who mentioned it. And I was looking for something to read and gave it a try. And according to Tommy, if it is Tommy, I think it is, she said the second book in the trilogy is even better. So I'm very much looking forward to that. The other thing that's making me happy, my virtual knit and spin groups. I'm participating in a Woolly Thistle knitting buddies group. We meet on Monday nights. It's just the three of us, and I really look forward to my weekly meeting with Chrissy and Barbara, and they've become true friends. So thanks to the Woolly Thistle for putting us in touch and organizing that. The second group I go to mostly weekly is a Friday night spinning group with some local folks. And thanks to Jelaine for noticing. She was a Firetown viewer, noticed that I was local, and invited me to this amazing group. Really wonderful people in this group who are super knowledgeable and very inspiring. And I'm very glad to have been invited. All right, so another thing that's making me incredibly happy is Toad. And I didn't sew it. I knit his bathing costume. Oh, Toad, you make my heart go pitter-pat. His bathing costume is a little bit of a squeeze. He doesn't seem to mind. He does mind, however, that he doesn't have a companion. He needs his frog, and my plea for some Blacker Yarns Gotland DK in the Fog colorway on my last episode has gone unanswered. So the quest continues. I've started to ping some people on Ravelry who have this in their stash. However, I'm logged off on Ravelry for the rest of the week and the weekend in protest of the way they have responded to the Ravelry community, their community. Long story short, I'm still looking for some frog yarn. I did hear Corrine of the Woolly Thistle say on her shopcast that Blacker might be spinning more Gotland soon. So fingers crossed. Another thing that I am loving is bird watching. I never thought I would say that this is a passion of mine, but it absolutely is. I have set up bird feeders at the window where I work, which is right here. So I've got a suet feeder. I'm watching downy woodpeckers, northern flickers, white-breasted nuthatches, Oh, who else comes there? Well, grackles, starlings, chickadees, cardinals, all the usual suspects, really, including some chipmunks and squirrels. Oh, who else do I get some other? Oh, my red-breasted woodpeckers. I haven't seen him in a while, but I'm hoping to get a pileated. I haven't seen one of those in ages. So that's my sort of home-based. I also get lots of types of sparrows and house finches and goldfinches, and some mourning doves that kind of collect what falls on the ground, and juncos as well. So those are kind of like my backyard birds. But we've been taking trips, like just very close by. We have been able to follow through eBird. The Cornell Lab of Ornithology has a very sort of citizen science database where you enter what birds you see when you go birding and where exactly. It's all very cool. So go to the Cornell Lab of Ornithology if you're interested. The eBird app, the Merlin app, talks to the eBird app and helps you identify what you're seeing based on your location, based on what's generally there at that time of year. And you have all those stats there, as well as songs, calls, flock noises for each specific bird. It's amazing. So we've been traveling to especially a lot of wetlands and river areas. And I've discovered the joys of my birding life list. And I'm up to over 50 species now. And this weekend, fingers crossed, we hope to be hearing the dawn chorus in some semi-local wetlands where there is an amazing boardwalk that you walk through. And there's some rare birds there, and we get rare bird notifications and we go to the spots where they are sighted. If it's a rare bird, rare meaning that it's not usually found in this area. If it's truly rare and having people come and see it would be detrimental to it, those birds, they do not, you cannot find out where they are, basically. They do not make it on those lists, so in case you're worried about that. Oh my gosh, it allows for that kind of flow state that you can hopefully sometimes get in your life that is simultaneously calming and stimulating. That's what that does for me. Knitting does that for me as well. So it's just another thing that ticks those boxes. Okay, what else? Let's talk about plants that are my favorite things. I have a million orchids blooming right now, and they're orchids that have been given to me over the years that I've collected and I've kept. They're dormant for, a year, a half year, and then all of a sudden, right now, I have 4, 5, 6 that are blooming. I will show you. They're just stunning. They're delightful. I talk to them a little bit, just tell them how grateful I am that they're showing their flowers. Another plant thing that I am loving, a favorite of mine, is fresh bay leaf. So I've had this bay leaf guy for about a year, and I just acquired 2 new bay leaves. I'm going to experiment with seeing if one of them will winter over in a very sheltered part of my yard, which is it's in a courtyard enclosed on 3 sides, so it's open. It does get a lot of sun. If I put this next to the house, it might be able to keep warm enough to survive. It might not, we'll see. But I have 3 now, so I feel like I could potentially sacrifice one. But fresh bay leaf is a game changer in your cooking. I highly recommend you try it. I got these, they were about $4 or $5 each at my local garden center. And they are a wonderful kitchen addition. Okay, what else am I excited about? Knitspin Farm yarn. Yes, indeed. I have bought the Scotchy Scotch colorway. These are her self-stripers. Scotchy Scotch and the Cherry Blossom Festival. And I've just pre-ordered rocks. And my friend Sarah Pomegranate and I, she is a fan as well. There are so many that we both like. We decided that she would buy one, I would buy one. We would knit half and send the other half to the other person. So this is made much easier if I'm using contrasting or complementary cuffs, heels, and toes. And I have plenty of fingering weight leftovers, so that's no issue. But she has a Corriedale nylon base that's my favorite. Sarah really likes the Targhee fingering, but I'm just scared to knit socks without nylon because I'm very hard on them. I've done it before, but I'd say I'm scared. There's no fear in that. I just don't think I want to. I don't want to knit a pair of socks and walk through it in a winter or less than a winter, honestly. So I think this is her last update before she switches over to making bats for the summer. She does things seasonally, which is a lovely way, I think, probably to keep your contentment in your work and your inspiration. So Knit Spin Farm yarns and fibers. Here's another thing that I've been loving. It's this Oracle deck. I resisted buying this for a while because it ships from the UK. It's the only place you can get it, and it's pricey with the shipping. But, oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. The Weavers deck. Again, my Sarah friends were the ones who told me about this. When I'm feeling in need of some self-reflection, some self-guidance, guided by something that's external, I pull one of these cards. They're amazing. They're all weaving based. However, oh my goodness, they are beautiful. The artwork is beautiful. The text of the interpretive book reads as poetry most times. And I just really recommend it. I think I'm going to pull a card this weekend. My Ralph sweater has been bringing me a lot of joy, and I've steeked it. And here it is. I've messed up the neckband. It was supposed to be ribbing, but I knit it as stockinette. Who knows why? So I need to pull that out. But let's say that I'm going to be wearing this next winter. Fingers crossed. That's the Ralph from the, oh gosh, blanking the Vintage Shetland project. I'm blanking on her name. Another thing that I'm loving, I actually only have 2 more things. Good. Okay, so this is only 20 minutes so far. Another thing I'm loving is this blush. And this is the NARS, I think it's called the Air Matte blush. It's pricey, but it's like a mousse. It's a creamy mousse product that it's buildable, as they say, and it's just lovely and glowy and not too much, but it's just enough. I'm wearing it right now. So makeup has been making me happy. And this is just the latest thing that I've really enjoyed. The last thing I want to share with you that's making me happy in March, my March favorite, is the music of Johnny Flynn. Johnnny. He is an actor and musician from the UK. And if you are a fan of The Detectorists, as am I, he's the one who did the theme song. Yeah, I've just been singing all the songs I know by him, as in particular, I think the one that's called The River, and that's a duet with a singer, Laura something. I'll put it here. The Writ and the Rote and the Writ is another favorite of mine. And then he also was in the latest adaptation of Jane Austen's Emma. And he wrote one of the songs in there, at least one, that's called My Queen Bee. That's another great one. Okay, lovely folks, let's finish with 2 Netflix recommendations. The first one is The Hunt for the Wilderpeople. Wilder? I'm looking at it now. Oh my gosh. Wilder was like wildebeest, but wilder people. Hilarious, charming, heartwarming, unusual New Zealand movie. I really recommend it. It's a hoot. The second one on Netflix is called About Time. It takes place in mostly London. Yeah, again, I haven't finished that one, but I'm about to do it now. It's very funny, unusual. Yeah, so hope you like those recommendations. So, I really hope you enjoyed all those March favorites. Tell me your March favorites. Maybe they'll become my April favorites. If you want to tell me down below, I'd love to hear from you, and subscribe if you want to. A like would be awesome, and I will see you all next time. Take care.